On this week's spooky episode, The Walking Dead rises for a final time. The Witcher strikes with some big news. And is DC cursed with its big changes? All this and more as we hauntingly delve into a Halloween episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford talking right at you with Pop Culture Cosmos, the Lakers Fast Break, Game Source, and of course, everything that we do for Inside Sports Fantasy Football. We truly appreciate you liking all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that spooky 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break, Humanican Media, also as well, the Happy Hoarder, and everything that we do at popculturecosmos.com. Plus, Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook not only has tons of hours of tabletop RPG goodness right there for you in the video section, but also we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day right there for you at the Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. So if you can like all of that, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my hauntingly good friend. He is the mastermind, the evil mastermind behind everything that's going on at Humanica Media, and of course, the Happy Hoarder. You got to go ahead and like his page today at the Happy Hoarder on Facebook. Plus, also check out everything that he's doing with the Super BS Gamescast. And of course, you got to go ahead and catch his book, Congratulations, You Suck, on Barnes & Noble and Amazon as well. It is my good friend. Ooh, I'm hoping we'll have a happy Halloween. It is Josh Peterson. What's
Yeah.
up, man?
What's up, man? Catch the book. Congratulations, you suck, which doesn't suck, by the way. Just let's put that out there.
Okay.
And Halloween is upon us. It is tomorrow. Tomorrow is the spooky night. Not as scary as Gerald's costume, but
Yes.
be safe out there and make sure you're keeping an eye on things because people love to get up to some mischief on Halloween.
Absolutely.
You watch any horror movies this spooky holiday season?
Well, if you want to say Black Adam, you can go ahead and say that. But other than that, no, I don't think I'm catching any horror movies. Just probably trying to work on the shows. If may, I may catch one just in the spirit. Probably will go ahead in the Wayback Machine and probably catch something from the past, maybe a Friday the 13th or maybe a Nightmare on Elm Street just to get in the mood. Maybe I'll put that as background noise. But yeah, just hoping that everybody has a happy and safe Halloween. Got the stuff out on the lawn to make sure everybody gets scared and spooked out by what I have right there on the lawn of the house. So yeah, just looking forward to a happy and safe Halloween for everyone out there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what is first on the agenda today?
Well, we got a lot to talk about on today's program, my friend. Got a lot to talk about, including some stuff going on. If you're a fan of The Witcher, a lot of stuff going on as far as a big change in store after an announcement that was made relating to DC. We'll go ahead and talk about that. Plus, is there a game on the way sooner rather than later in the world of The Witcher? We'll talk about that coming up in a bit. Plus, also as well, I know we talked about it on the Friday show with Melinda, but I did want to hear the thoughts of Josh on the big shakeup with the new leaders at the head of DC. I just had a chance to check out Black Adam in the theaters, and I wanted to hear his thoughts on how I guess the DCEU is setting up going forward. So I want to hear his thoughts on that. Plus, also as well, Tales of the Jedi is now on Disney Plus. Is it worth your time in watching? We'll go ahead and talk about that in a bit. Speaking of Disney Plus, guess what's coming up? Guess what's just been rumored? Guess what's just been actually confirmed by the major Hollywood outlets out there is none other than a Vision series. So we'll talk about a Vision series, and it goes back to what Josh always says: is a more Marvel, too much Marvel. We'll talk about that coming up in a bit. Josh, are you ready for a sausage party?
That's such a funny question. No, I'm not ready to go back down to the Seth Rogen imagined sausage party.
Well, you know what? You're going to have to because Sausage Party is coming to Amazon. So we'll talk about that coming up in a bit. And in fact, that could it be a success out there as a series as far as envisioned out there from the, I guess, evil minds of Sausage Party. So we'll talk about that coming up in a bit. We'll talk about The Walking Dead is actually airing its final episode in the series after 11 seasons, 22 episodes. It's finally coming to an end as far as the main series is concerned. No, the TWD is a long way from being finished because there's other stuff in the pipeline. But we'll talk about the legacy of this show and what it's meant to a whole lot of people. That's coming up in a bit. And also, as well, Amazon's best selling Halloween costume. What was the biggest sellers on Amazon when it comes to their best selling costumes? I'm just going to pull it up on the random right here live on the show and give you the countdown on the top selling costumes for Halloween. That's coming up in a bit as well. But first, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and talk about The Witcher. The Witcher. You know, if you saw Black Adam, it is absolutely no secret. And if you even if you didn't, you know now that Henry Cavill is returning to the role of Superman. And he actually appeared in a post credit scene in Black Adam to face off against Black Adam, or at least to talk to Black Adam. I think that was something that was arranged by Amanda Waller in the movie. But yes, he has returned to the role of Superman, and he is excited, as he stated on Instagram last week, that he was just welcoming the chance to go ahead and come back to a Man of Steel 2 and more fun in the DC universe, which we'll talk about in a second as far as who's heading up that. But with The Witcher, the big news is that since he's becoming Superman again, he has no time again to be Geralt of Rivera. So Geralt is out for him. He is actually leaving the series after season 3, and season 4 brings us Liam Hemsworth, which I know has ticked off a lot of people. My wife was like, "He's leaving? Oh man, Liam Hemsworth's coming in. Oh, that's okay. Okay." I'm like, "Oh,
Nice.
yeah." I'm just like, "Gee, thanks." I feel like chopped liver over here. But your thoughts on this? This is part one of our Witcher coverage because there's something else I'm going to mention with the Witcher that's coming up in a second. But this was obviously the biggest news. It is a major hit for Netflix. It does a lot of good numbers. The series has done very well with Henry Cavill as the lead face of this. Your thoughts on the switch over to Liam Hemsworth for season 4, which is not going to be for another year or so. So hold on your horses on that. But your thoughts on that for season 4, because season 3 is not even out yet. But season 4 with Henry Cavill will no longer be there. It'll actually be Liam Hemsworth instead.
You know what's funny? I'm actually okay with this. Like it's not. I love Henry Cavill playing Geralt the Witcher. Like he was absolutely amazing. It's a bummer that he's having to step down, but again, with like you can't fans need to realize that they can't have their cake and eat it too. Like you can't have him playing what Hyperion in Marvel and Superman in the DCU and also be able to do Geralt of Rivia. Like there would have to be three of him to
Yes.
do a
Plus, there's other
combined set.
projects that he's signed on and committed to as well.
Right, right. So as much as it breaks my heart to see him leave the role, I understand. I would as much as I love The Witcher, I love him as Superman even more.
Right. He's
And
also talked about what a Warhammer. He's also talked about wanting to play Shepard in Mass Effect. If that
okay,
ever, just a whole
he
ton
did
of
say
video game stuff as well.
yeah, and I was actually talking to Big Dog about that yesterday because he had no idea he was signing up to play that part, and I was like, yeah, that'd be. Hopefully, he still does because I think he'd make a great Commander Shepard. Like that would be cool. Like he's got that very stoic look about him. As for the transition to Liam Hemsworth, I think that I honestly I'm okay with that. I think it'll be fine. I think the only issues that we're going to face here is when Liam Hemsworth tries to reenact the voice of Geralt of Rivia that Cavill has already done. It's going to sound dumb. Like that's my only
I'm
yeah,
Geralt.
that is my only reservation about this. But what are your thoughts? I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I think Liam Hemsworth I think he's a good actor. He just gets,
Yeah.
his reputation is caught up in like, oh, he's the ex of Miley Cyrus. No one ever like thinks about him as being an actor. So I think
I,
that this is
I don't even think of him as that. I don't think a lot of people think of him as that anymore. They just think of him as, Chris's brother, which that's how I posed
right,
it to my
right.
wife. I said, okay, Henry Cavill's leaving The Witcher. What? 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 And then I said, it's Hemsworth is going to be in the role. Oh, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth. Then I said, no, not Chris, Liam. Oh, well, that's okay.
Is
So
the least appreciated brother.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I guess actually with his name should be changed to Liam. Oh well, that's okay, Hemsworth.
yeah. Yeah, and again, I'm okay with this. Like, I would love to. I'm fine with it. Because I really liked his character in like Independence Day 2, and I thought he was good in Hunger Games. I think he'll look different and he'll sound different, but I think that I think he can do it.
I think he can do it. I don't know if everybody's going to support it. I think that you will not get the same kind of numbers because he doesn't have the same kind of name. I think if they would have gotten Chris Hemsworth, I think that would actually been as good or better as far as getting numbers for Netflix are concerned. But if it does anywhere near what the Henry Cavill Witcher does, I think that Netflix will be doing backflips because of the fact that Liam is not the box office name or the name to lead a series that he has been. Because this is his first real opportunity to lead a series. He has
Right.
not been the main guy because even in the Hunger Games, he wasn't the main person as far as that's concerned. Everybody was there to see Jennifer Lawrence, and everything. Everyone else was just like filler, side stars, everything else. But with Liam Hemsworth doing this, he is the lead guy. So if it does anywhere near what actually not after the first episode, for everybody's going to do a curiosity episode to check him out, but 5 episodes, 6 episodes in, if it's still doing crazy numbers that are anywhere near what The Witcher season 3 will do, then oh
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a big win for Netflix.
Yeah, and people are still. I mean, let's be honest. Like, people are still gonna watch the show. Like, 4, 5, 6. I mean, it's got what 4 seasons left after, Cavill leaves. People are they're committed to the story. They're going to finish it, and maybe they'll complain about it, but The Witcher will live on.
The Witcher will live on indeed with Liam Hemsworth for starting with season 4. I think you'll still get another season, of course, season 3 with Henry Cavill that's on the way. But season 4 will bring you Liam Hemsworth in the role of Geralt of Rivia. So go ahead and let us know your thoughts. If you are digging the new change, with Liam Hemsworth taking the role of Geralt in the upcoming season 4 of The Witcher. If you're okay with that, please let us know, or not okay with that. Please let us know if you think that's a trick or treat sort of deal with Liam Hemsworth coming into the role of Geralt in season 4 of The Witcher. Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. We talked a little bit about DC because Henry Cavill is going to be doing a lot of things in relationship to the DCEU once again because he is returning to the role of Superman after you and I talked about the fact that my gosh, the changes that were made or supposedly rumored as far as a new Superman coming on the way, and we were very I know we actually dedicated a portion of an episode to the changes that were supposedly rumored within the Superman character, but I guess that cooler heads prevailed and common sense prevailed as far as having I guess Henry Cavill now as the face of Superman once again, and he's now excited to be in the role, which means he just got paid a whole bunch of cha-ching to go ahead and set that
Oh
up.
yeah.
But also, as well, James Gunn and Peter Safran are now made the co-CEOs of DC, and in DC, not just the films, but the TV part of it as well. So they will be the face of DC going forward. It takes two of them to beat Kevin Feige in Marvel. And I noticed when I talked to Melinda, she didn't have as much problem with it as I did as far as the two at the top, because we saw what happened in Marvel. They had someone in charge of the movies and that universe, and someone separate in charge of the TV universe. And we saw what happened then as far as the heads clashing, the heads butting, the eventual removal of the individual in charge of TV, and Kevin Feige overseeing everything, especially with the transition to Disney Plus. So we saw that actually probably fit better for the Marvel universe, that one person is overseeing everything in relationship to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A, do you like the move with Peter Gunn and excuse me, with James Gunn and Peter Safran in the roles as the head of DC? And B, do you think it's going to work long term for the DCEU?
Okay, so here's my initial thoughts on this. Like Peter Safran, I don't really know much about him.
He's been a producer of a lot of stuff. They did work together on the Suicide Squad, so they do
Okay,
know of each other. I worked with each other, but he
yeah.
has a long history of movies that he's worked as a producer on.
Okay, I mean, and he's established.
Yeah.
Great, like that is every every studio needs money, so that's good. With James Gunn, like I was telling this to my wife the other day, I was like, my one concern with this is that he does very joke related movies, like a lot of his stuff, it's lighthearted and there's a lot of jokes. Like he knows when to be serious, but he can't help himself.
Yeah.
And so that's why I hope that with DC films, I hope that the characters that are meant to have a serious undertone, like Superman, I hope they keep the tone. They keep the tone of the Superman movies. And I am excited though because I was reading an article where James Gunn said that he had already approached Marvel about doing a DC Marvel crossover, and I was like, wow, imagine a world where that's possible. Like that would be really cool.
That would be really cool. I would hope that that happens someday. I'm not holding my breath. You'll forgive me because I think the folks at Warner Brother Discovery would probably fight tooth and nail against that, although I think it would be in their best financial interests, just to clarify, because the fact that I don't think everyone from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that watches what's going on in the MCU catches everything that goes on with the DC. I mean, the numbers are there. Where a movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would make 800, $900 million, in the DC universe would make 600 million dollars, maybe even less. So I think that would be great for DC to do some type of crossover with Marvel, because I think it only benefits them long term.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. Um, so that I mean that's all. There's a lot of like hope. We have hope as enjoyers of DC movies. We have hope for the very first time in a long, long time. And it's funny, like all the stuff that's been spilling out of DC. All the news spilling out of the old
Regime.
regime is the word I'm looking for. Over at DC, now that everyone's out, and The Rock has talked about how he brought Cavill in, saying that, basically the studio heads like Walter Hamada, like they had an issue with the fact that the fans wanted stuff that they didn't want to give. And I guess it was like a big pride issue was the main reason that we did not see a return of the already established Justice League, because that's what the fans wanted, and that I guess upset them. So really interesting stuff, but I'm glad that now there's this image of like DC is hearing the fans, giving the fans what they want. And like we have wanted Superman back for a long time. I just hope that this leads to a dark side. I hope it leads to a reestablishment of that dark side storyline.
Well, we've talked about how Constantine should be coming back into the DCEU sometime. Sorry about that. My nose is making me sneeze. So I was like, oh my gosh, what's up with that? But with Constantine, I hopefully, like you said, it'll lead to a darker side of the DC universe because there's plenty of it, just like we're seeing the beginnings of a darker side of the MCU. I think that's probably a good way to go as well. But I also wanted to go ahead and mention to you something I talked about with Melinda, and that is I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about the TV series and the fact that I think that the role of television and HBO and HBO Max series that will be created for it, and not just the Peacemaker season two, the upcoming Commissioner Gordon series or the upcoming Penguin series. Those are fine, but actual series with main characters that, like we're going to be talking about with Vision here, that can be utilized in a larger format than just having to wait every 3 to 4 years on a big
Mhm.
movie screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, looking at okay. So the Peacemaker show that was
What, John Cena?
with
Yes.
John Cena. That was James Gunn written and produced, right?
Yes. So
So I
that's
guess
coming back for season two. That was a well received, that was well attended, well watched, and that will be coming back for season two at some point.
okay.
That's
All
it.
right. Yeah. I mean, I'm hopeful for all these things. Like I would love to see more of that. I just hope that we don't get to the point where they're like Marvel and there's just too much of it to watch. Like I had no idea that Commissioner Gordon show had reached as many seasons as it already has.
Well, no, it hasn't even done. It hasn't even been appearing yet. It hasn't even
Has it? I thought
aired.
that. Oh, maybe that was. Sorry, I got Gotham confused with that. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I just don't want to be oversaturated. Like I love DC is the only comic book related media that like I can still keep up with because they don't put so many things out every year.
Well, in the case of Warner Brothers Discovery, which we thought, as I told Melinda, I thought it was doing well at the beginning of the year. I thought it was really looking on the way up. I thought it had a nice array of content. I thought that the viewership was going up, but then they reported their financial issues and their restructuring because they bought or merged with Discovery, and their plans to merge with Discovery finally ending or finally coming together next year, but that has cost so much money that they've led to financial issues for Warner Brother Discovery, causing a lot of layoffs and things of that nature. One thing to go ahead and look forward to, if that's the case, is something that you may not look forward to, and that's more DC, which would be something that's a more of a solid low risk eye catcher for series. So I have a feeling you're going to see more DC TV shows in the pipeline. Will it be too much? At some point, I'd probably say 2, 3 years down the line, when you're seeing a flood of DC shows, I probably will say it's too much. But I think that's in their best interest for a financial sense because Warner Brothers Discovery is trying to look in ways of trying to recoup its money after the merger, and that's probably one of the best ways to go ahead and gain viewers is by presenting a whole lot of things in the DCEU.
Yeah, yeah, and that's if I mean it needs to grow. It does need to grow. They do need to introduce other characters, but they also need to make sure they don't make the same errors as last time, where they don't focus on their big six.
Well, that's true. That's true indeed. But what are your thoughts out there on the future of the DCEU now that there's new people in place? James Gunn and Peter Safran, producer extraordinaire, and James Gunn, we all know from the Guardians of the Galaxy and, of course, the Suicide Squad. Those guys are heading up the DC universe. So we want to hear your thoughts if you like them as a new version of Kevin Feige for the DC universe. Please let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. But before we head to the break, my friend, I wanted to hear your thoughts on Tales of the Jedi, which is now on Disney Plus. It's a nice anthology series that's out there covering the world of the Jedi that you didn't even know existed or really didn't want to even know existed at all, or just it's just the fact that it delves into actual parts of the Jedi universe with familiar Jedi characters and some that are actually you didn't even know what happened to them in the case of one. But I will say that I've caught a few episodes of Tales of the Jedi, and They're okay, but they're not necessary watching within the realm of the Star Wars universe. Your thoughts on Tales of the Jedi on Disney Plus? Again, it's something that I think it's nice as an addition, but when you talk about Marvel, which I know you're going to talk about Marvel, I think the Star Wars universe, with the success of the Mandalorian, has bred all these different facets now of the Star Wars universe that we may or may not want to see.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, rephrase the question.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the Tales of the Jedi? Because again, for me, it's just
Got it.
been. I mean, it's getting to the point with Star Wars that you're getting with Marvel, and that it may be too much Star Wars. I know Dave Filoni isn't. He was so much of a part of Star Wars, the Clone Wars,
Mhm.
but again, when it comes to Tales of the Jedi, and we're seeing with all these side shows with Star Wars and things of that nature, all these anthology series, the anime that came out not too long ago, all the other stuff that they're putting out, Andor, things of that nature. It might be getting to be the point where I'm getting to where you are with Marvel, and that too much Star Wars is too much Star Wars.
Yeah, so I think I told you this last week. Like I'm so burnt out on stuff like episode 9 or whatever it was, like that really ended my interest in Star Wars. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, "Oh, hey, well, my kids haven't seen a lot of these movies, so maybe we should go back. We'll start from the beginning." So I want to do that, but they just keep adding and adding and adding, and then they're not exploring anything new in that world. Like we got everything's still tied to the empire. Like I want
Yes,
I want
like
new
Andor, that's just on right now.
yeah, and except like I hear Andor's pretty good, but like I want
Yes,
things
it
that
is.
are free of that. Like I want a new story. Like if you're wanting to appeal to a new generation of fans, like you need to give them new stories and not have things existing in the same timeline over and over again. Like give them a new era to explore.
I would
Create a
agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, create a new Han Solo, create a new Luke Skywalker. Give kids heroes to resonate with that haven't been around for 60 what 30, 40 years.
But the problem is they don't want to do that on a TV format. They want to rehash or go into parts which we've already seen and explored. I mean, the fact is, Tales of the Jedi mainly deals with parts of the Jedi universe that we are already familiar with. Like, for instance, Dooku and Qui Gon is one of the episodes. Ahsoka, her origin story is one of the episodes. It delves into familiar parts of the Jedi universe. Andor is a familiar part of the Star Wars universe because it relates to Andor, which we know from Rogue One. It just something that but everybody knows about a lot. So many people know about the parts of the Star Wars universe that they're already delving in. The Mandalorian is probably the only one. Well, in fact, even that is not even original because of the fact that there's so many parts of the Mandalorian which are very familiar, which are characters taken from either the Clone Wars or other parts of the Star Wars universe. It just
Yeah.
seems like you said, until that movie comes out for Star Wars, what now? It's not coming out next year. It's been delayed to at least a year or the year after. That there's not going to be anything new in the Star Wars universe, which again is also very fearful for me. We're going to repeat, rinse, rewash so many familiar parts of the Star Wars universe and not see, like you said, anything new, which is going to be of concern to me as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's they're trying to they're appealing to nostalgia right now. Like
Yeah.
they're just how can people are watching this, people are nostalgic for this stuff. Like how can we just keep putting things out? I mean, and I think that once a series starts to get poor returns, then
Yeah.
finally they'll look at them like, oh, okay, well maybe we need to maybe we've mined this dry, but it's also like it's pulling the soul out of it. Like it's just making it exhaustive. Like if they want people to get interested in a new set of Star Wars movies, they need to stop putting out so many Star Wars shows.
What are your thoughts out there on what's going on with Star Wars Tales of the Jedi? Again, what I saw was okay. I thought it was all right for what it was. If you're familiar with Star Wars, the Clone Wars universe and the animation style and a lot of the characters relating within, plus as well the earlier parts, the Star Wars universe deals with a lot of the Jedi's, their stories, their tales per se, as far as other parts of the world that has not yet been discovered. But we actually go ahead and brush some of that up as far as bringing some familiar faces back within the Jedi universe. So again, for what it was okay. What I watched, I think I will go ahead and finish the series, but it's too much Star Wars. Too much Star Wars. We'll go ahead and talk about that, but please, we want to hear your thoughts on if Star Wars Tales of the Jedi will be something you will catch on Disney Plus. Please let us know your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos, hoping you have a scary and haunting Halloween. It's Gerald Glassford, aka the Clown Man, right now. Plus, also as well, my good friend, Mr. Josh Peterson. Josh, just wanted to go ahead and ask. Speaking of Disney Plus, which we talked about just before the break, wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts on this because I know you have some in regards to a Vision series, which Deadline and Hollywood Reporter and Variety have reported on as being a go. This is something that, coming out of the events of WandaVision, should not be too surprising. But just like we talked about in the Star Wars universe, we're seeing a lot of familiar things going on with the TV part of what's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Again, no real original stories. Everything is relating to something else within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially on television. And of course, this is another series that's going to be in development on the way, telling his side of the story. Your thoughts on this, my friend? I know this is overloading. As much as I feel like I'm getting overloaded in the Star Wars universe, it sounds like you're getting to be the same in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay, so I don't hate the idea, but I don't care. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Like, it's cool, but I don't know if I'm probably not gonna like rush to watch it unless it has something like pivotal in it that I need to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still haven't finished Miss Marvel. I still haven't finished Loki. I still haven't watched Hawkeye. Yeah, like you said, the same thing with Star Wars. Like, there's too much out there, and it's so hard to keep up with all of it.
And there's so much more on the way with what's coming up with Black Panther Wakanda Forever coming out here in 2 weeks. Then you've also got in December, you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which was directed by none other than James Gunn. And then in February, you have Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. That all debuted trailers as far as within the past couple of weeks. So you have a lot that's coming on the way for the Marvel Cinematic Universe that you have to catch up on, and you haven't even watched some of the best parts of the recent history of the MCU with Loki and Hawkeye, because Hawkeye and Loki are the two top shows I have seen on Disney Plus by a wide margin.
Yeah, and it's just time. Only have so much time to watch, and this is where I don't like the streaming shows versus the movies, because like a movie, it's fun. We'll go out, we'll like make a point to go out and watch a new Marvel movie or a new DC movie, but when things are on TV, it's just the time commitment available is a lot different. Like,
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
could go sit down and watch a 2-hour movie with my kids, get some popcorn, have a night out of the house. With a show, like, I have to keep going back to that show either every week or just whenever we have time, and time is not always something that's readily available when we're at home.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend. But again, a Vision series. I think if you, like you said, if you watched what was going on with WandaVision, you realize that there was going to be something going on with the Vision series, or at least it was going to be a major part of a WandaVision season two. This tells me that there are not plans for a WandaVision season two. This is something that Paul Bettany is going to do mainly by himself in the series, and actual Wanda Maximoff, you will not see much of her in that series. You probably see maybe a cameo or something in the series, but it just sounds like to me because of the fact that she was so much a part of the Doctor Strange movie that she's probably wants to be maybe taking some time off from the MCU, and she's probably not going to be involved in a WandaVision season 2 anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah, probably
No
not.
matter how successful it was, because it was a huge success for
Oh, it was great,
MCU.
yeah, but I mean, I think they kind of butchered her character, and I'm not sure how much of a hurry people are gonna be in to see that character back.
Well, that's the thing. So, yeah, I think that you will probably see something of her within a Vision series. I think you have no choice. I think that's something that you have to go ahead and at least showcase as far as a cameo, but you've got to build a series on what is he doing now since he flew away after the events of WandaVision. So
Mhm.
I think that something is coming down the line for a Vision series. It just depends on how you're going to lay that out and what it's going to set up for the future and how important it is for the future of the MCU when you make that series, because some of these series are not required watching. I'm going to be honest with you. Moon Knight, after watching it, I don't understand how that's going to really fit into the MCU unless he becomes a part of the MCU, because they really didn't do anything to mention what went on in the MCU. So that was probably the low point for me. Miss Marvel was okay for what it was, and She Hulk again some really uh, cool highs and some pretty low lows for me. So that was overall an okay series at best, but not required watching. I have to tell
No.
people at this point in time, I have not seen anything since Hawkeye, which has been required watching for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I can't remember, and, I granted, I haven't seen Hawkeye, and I haven't seen, all of Loki, but I can't remember the last time I watched something, I was like, "Oh, this is really important to the overall story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now." Like, everything done after Endgame, there's nothing that requires you to sit down and watch it and be able to understand what's going on.
What are your thoughts out there on a Vision series that will be coming to Disney Plus sometime down the road? Probably not for another year or two at the very least. I see it as a phase six, probably. They mentioned that in if you remember back when they had Comic Con and they mentioned out the timeline at that point in time. They've since changed the movie structure and some of those release dates, but there was some gaps in phase six. I think this will probably be one of those gaps in phase six that they're going to go ahead and add in there, but that's not for a year or two down the line. So, what are your thoughts on a Vision series? Is this something you really want to check out after the events of WandaVision, after everything that's gone on? Or are you like Josh, where so much Marvel, maybe too much Marvel? Please let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, there's still much more to talk about, but before we hit the break, my friend, are you ready for a sausage party on Amazon? The surprisingly pretty good hit for Sony is now coming as a series. Well, actually, it's not a surprise anymore that something goes to as far as becoming a series that was a good movie. It was either going to be a sequel to it because it was a surprise hit at the box office. It's just these studios can't leave the stuff alone. But Amazon has requested to Sony a Sausage Party series coming to Amazon at some point with most of the original cast returning. Your thoughts on this? I think it's a really cool idea. I mean, you've seen with The Boys that Amazon is willing to go all out virtually and say okay to almost anything that goes on in that show. I see a lot of crazy things happening in Sausage Party, a lot of NSFW, a lot of adult things that are going on within Sausage Party, but that will make it no less funny for me and no less entertaining for everybody out there.
Well, okay, let's look at it this way though. There's a difference between, like, The Boys has a compelling storyline, and
Hmm.
Sausage Party is exactly what it sounds like.
Yes. How far can
So,
they take it?
how far can they take it, and how are they going to get people to come back week after week to watch another episode of this? Because, there's all just like there's a difference between The Boys and Sausage Party, there's a difference between an hour and a half movie versus a 6-hour streaming series.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. Will the jokes play out over a course of
Exactly.
6, 8 episodes? So I get that. But it depends on how long that they are, I think, as well. If they're 30 to 45 minutes long, like we see from great animated series like Archer or Rick and Morty, or even if you want to go ahead, the old standbys, South Park and The Simpsons, you
Mhm.
can create a nice little world, a very funny world if it's compact and tight. But if you start stretching it out 45 minutes, an hour long, like you said, creating something like that and stretching out a world like that and stories from that are 6 to 8 hours long, that could be truly hard.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I guess it depends on how well it's gonna be written, what's it going to be about? Because honestly, I'm looking at an idea like Sausage Party, there's nothing that could make a show like that compelling. It just at its heart, it's stupid, and it's really, like, that's what people love about it, is the fact that it's stupid, but, even The Simpsons and Family Guy and South Park to some extent have a lesson that is being, or a moral that's being taught behind all the shenanigans, whereas, like, I don't know how you do that with anthropomorphic food.
This is true. This is true. But I'm curious. I will give it at least a watch, at least an initial watch. Whether or not I stick with it, that's going to be the issue. It depends all on the humor and how much they can go ahead and utilize. I mean, Seth Rogen, you've already seen what he's done as a executive producer of The Boys, so this won't be a stretch for him as far as creating a NSFW series that will be on Amazon. So I think that I'm going to give it a watch just because of that, because of the fact that Sausage Party was to me something I disregarded and pushed to the side until it made a lot of money. And
Mhm.
then I realized, hey, this is actually something people want to check out, something people are laughing at. So I checked it out and they were right. It was something that was really worth watching. So I'm hoping that will happen to the same thing for the television series as well.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it might strike gold, but, when I first read about it, I just didn't see it as being something that, was a good investment.
What are your thoughts out there on Sausage Party coming to Amazon as a television series with obviously the brilliant minds behind that? Seth Rogen coming back as far as the main role, and so many others that were connected to the original movie are coming back as well. Does this get you interested in attending a sausage party once again? Please let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. And before we hit the break, my friend, I know that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 dropped over the past weekend. I know it is the major release of this holiday season. I know that I guess the reviews are mediocre at best. I guess it's the same old, they really don't put much into the story of the campaign. It's just cut and paste. Whereas the multiplayer is given passing reviews so far. I guess it's really just done what it needed to do. With the Call of Duty series now, the Call of Duty series future now in question once Microsoft fully gets the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. What are your thoughts on this, my friend? Because Call of Duty, it may no longer be a yearly franchise starting next year because I think it's taking a year off. It's going to be interesting to see where the Call of Duty franchise goes. It is
Mhm.
obviously still the most popular of all the console gaming that's out there, even on PC, as far as each and every year by the MPD. I just
Yeah.
think that there's places where it can go, but it's not going to. It's just it never takes risks. When they take risks, they do get burned, and I understand that. But I just like to see Call of Duty go somewhere else than they're going right now.
Yeah, they're a very repetitive and formulaic game company, and people still pay to play it though, People
Yeah.
still want to play Call of Duty, so that's the tough part about it, is like, if people continue to buy the game, then how do they justify, you know sorry, adding new things into it? How do they justify going from the ground up on something like that? From what I've talked to Brian on the Super BS, and he was saying that he loves it. Like, he says it's the most fun campaign that he's played in a long time. So there might be something to that.
Hmm. Well, that's good. I'm glad he's enjoyed it because most everybody else has kind of panned it or said it's okay. It is beautiful to look at. I will say that Activision, Blizzard has done a great job of putting such an emphasis on character detail and facial animations. I want
Mhm.
to say it's some of the best I have seen on a video game platform.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, you don't have to play it, but go to YouTube, everyone out there, and check out the Amsterdam level. If you get a chance to see that, it's kind of like a spy like level. You have to start doing some surveillance and you're following individuals, but check out the detail in that city. Check out the detail of the faces. Check out your communications with other individuals. Check out the things you have to do and see in that, I guess, in that level. But the recreation of Amsterdam is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. I will not go ahead and say anything disparaging about the look and graphics that are displayed by Call of Duty in the Amsterdam level, or actually pretty much the whole game as entirety. It is something back in 2007 when I was running game stores, I would have dreamed to see that kind of realistic features on it. I just was hoping that this technology would come to the industry and you could really get something that looks good instead of, the animations on facial animations, or when people are talking it never matches up with the faces because at that time the technology would not have supported. We are now to the point where you can get almost as realistic as you can the features, the detail, the dialogue that matches up with the facial animations, the emotion that you can almost see coming out of these individuals. It is really getting to where I wanted it to be so long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I don't know if that has anything to do with Unreal 5 or whatever engine they're using, but, yeah, and also, like, as games like Call of Duty become more realistic, like, how is that going to be a positive thing, you know? Like, the facial animation's great, but, I mean, as far as, like, the violence goes, like, is that going to be something that people start to really become affected by, I guess, especially with, like, all the stuff going on in the world today? Is that going to be, are games going to become the regular, like, oh hey, it's their fault that this happens, this has been going on for years? But that's my one thing with, like, yeah, games look great now and something like Call of Duty looks great, but, like, how long until games become a scapegoat and then it gets put under the public eye?
Well, before we head out, you mentioned Unreal 5, and I want to go ahead and ask you real quick. The Witcher, the original Witcher game, which was given out free last week on GOG, just wanted to let everybody know. I don't know if it's still available free, but you might want to check it out. GOG. I think it was actually, even if you didn't get it free, it's still at a very cheap price. I think it was like 85% off. But the original Witcher game is going to be remade in Unreal 5. I think this is a big win. I can't wait to see what it looks like. But your thoughts on The Witcher remade in Unreal 5?
I am really excited about it because that's one that I always wanted to play, but, like, I went back. I bought it on Steam during the summer sale, and I fired it up, and I was like, man, this is like turning on a VHS after watching things in 4K, and I stopped playing it because I've been so spoiled, with these newer graphics that I couldn't quite force myself to go back and indulge this. So I'm excited that it's coming out. It's being remade. That's going to be really cool. That also give people who are, fans of the show and who look at something like, oh, there are 3 games in, like, it's too late for me to play, like, it's going to be too daunting. Now they'll have a chance to play the game from the beginning.
Well, we'll see what happens as The Witcher was announced, not only with a new face of the Witcher series coming to season 4, but also as well, CD Projekt Red mentioned that they are remaking the original Witcher game in Unreal 5. So that will be coming down the pike, down the way sometime in the hopefully not too distant future. They're also working on the next Witcher itself, plus obviously Cyberpunk 2077, that whatever sequel that they're going to call that. So they've got a lot of things going on at CD Projekt Red. But share us your thoughts on how The Witcher will look in Unreal 5, plus also what's going on with Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on that. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we head on out, a couple last notes on this Halloween episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. Before we head on out, my friend, The Walking Dead. Speaking of ghouls and ghosts and zombies and everything else that's scary out there, that is actually shown off by the time you hear this. Its last episode as a series after a long running 11 season series. Of course, there are other spin offs on the way in the TWD universe, which I know TWD fans are liking, but at one time, my friend, this was the show people were watching anywhere, earning over 15 million people per week at one time. And it's fallen on hard times. As we've talked about on the show, falling to somewhere between 1 and 2 million. It is not the show that it once was, but I understand the legacy that this show will always have. There are spin-offs coming in the universe, but I know that for now, for the main series, it is done after this show.
You know what? This is gonna sound harsh, but good riddance, man. Like this, they needed it to end. If they wanted it, if they wanted people to look back on this show in fondness, like it needed to end because
Mm.
I personally, I know I've talked about this before, but like I don't like when shows go past 5 seasons because it makes you wonder, like, why am I still sitting here watching this?
Should have talked to people from The Simpsons.
Yeah, so The Simpsons is different though because there is no overarching storyline. Look at like Supernatural. What got me into that show in the first place was the fact that Eric Kripke was like, "This is gonna I have a story mapped out for 5 seasons. That's gonna be it." And then they went on to like what 9, 10, 11 seasons.
30 seasons? I don't know. It just seemed
30
like it
seasons. Who
never
knows?
ended.
Who can keep track of that anymore? But South Park, Simpsons, Family Guy, whatever, things like that are different because there's no overarching storyline. They're just making fun of whatever happens to be relevant at the moment. But with something like The Walking Dead, they have more shows than they do comic books. So I mean that I don't know if that tells you anything about it, but
Yeah.
it's time for it to end. If you really want to leave a cultural footprint, you need to not beat it to death. No pun intended.
Well, they already beat it to death because of how many people left, especially after the Negan episode, where the introduction of Negan was brutally violent and it turned a lot of people off. I think that if you
Yeah.
spoke to the TWD producers today on it and they were honest with you, they probably would not have gone about it the way they did. Even though for me, I think if you understand the character, it needed to be that brutal and violent. But for most general viewers, it was a big turnoff.
Yeah.
So they left, I guess, in the seasons following pretty much in droves. I lost touch with it as far as a week to week basis. I'll be honest with you, but my great conversations with Daphne and Matthew from the TWD fan universe and the fan sites that she runs on Facebook, she was always very high on it. She was always very supportive of the series. But yes, I was more of a casual fan, and I didn't leave because of the show going in such a darker turn with Negan. I just left because, like you said, the storylines, it was just very hard for them to weed out. I understand they got so much from the comic books, but it just seemed to be like it was just they're stretching things out just to stretch things out.
Yeah, well, they wanted people to keep watching. They're obviously like the producers of that show don't they're out of touch with the fan base because if they were really, and from what I understand, right, the viewer numbers kept dropping more and more every season.
And
I mean,
Andrew Lincoln leaving did them no favors at all.
yeah, but I also heard that he was wanting to leave because he was not able to do any other projects. Like his entire 10 years had been tied up in The
Yeah, but
Walking Dead.
since he's been gone, he hasn't really done much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's possible too that he's, that's a good reason to leave too. Like he just hasn't had time to devote to his family or whatever. But
That's the best reason. That's the best reason right there.
yeah, but I mean, in either case, like, yeah, the show should not have gone past like 5 or 6 seasons. And back then when the iron was hot, that's when they should have done like these 5-part series to kind of end things or a movie or whatever it might be.
Well, there's a Rick Grimes series that's coming up on the way because it was supposed to be a
Hmm.
Rick Grimes movie, but unfortunately, because the fact that the popularity of the series has gone in the toilet,
Yeah.
the movie became a series that they're going to be, well, not a series per se, but probably like a mini series, like a about a 3 or 4 episode thing that they're going to be doing somewhere down the line that you'll be seeing. But that's something that they still promise fans that they're going to deliver. There are other side shows. I know that Daryl Dixon is going to be doing a side show. I don't know if it's with Daryl and Carol anymore. I think that Carol is the part of it. She is not going to commit to it long term as far as another series concerned, but there will be a Daryl Dixon series or other series in the works with the TWD name attached to it. So
Hmm.
that's something that they've done before with Fear of the Walking Dead and Tales of the Walking Dead and whatever the Walking Dead, and that you see. And there'll be more stuff down the line with TWD, but the main show, the reason why so many people came and saw, especially early on, or especially halfway through, that part of it is going away this weekend. I'm hoping Rick Grimes will make an appearance. I have not seen this episode as of yet, as we're talking. So I'm hoping he made at least a little cameo to hopefully set up what's going on with the Rick Grimes series or mini series or whatever they're going to go call it coming up here in some point in time down the future. But again, like you said, I think it overstayed its welcome, and I'm glad as well that it's finally seeing its end in some form or fashion.
The show has become The Walking Dead.
Pretty much indeed. But what are your thoughts out there on the final episode of The Walking Dead, the legacy that it leaves behind, and do you agree with us that it might have overstayed its welcome? And are you looking forward to more facets of the TWD universe, including a Rick Grimes series? I guess a Rick Grimes miniseries. It's not going to be something extended because he doesn't want to stay with the character that long. So it's going to be something relating to the Rick Grimes part of it as far as the TWD universe going forward. Are you wanting to see more TWD, please share us your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it is Halloween. And again, we're wishing a safe and happy Halloween to everyone out there. But before we head on out, and before I hear your thoughts on anything horrorish, what you're checking out as far as movies, horror movies you're checking out, because you asked me about horror movies. I know you probably got something on the queue because you're more of a horror aficionado than I am. Wanted to go ahead and give you the update on what costumes are selling well on Amazon. We always go ahead and check in almost every year about what is selling well as far as costumes this year. So I wanted to go ahead and mention to you before we head on out. I know there's a rise in interest in Avatar because of Avatar: The Way of Water. It's so funny because 10 years ago when I was running the Halloween stores, you couldn't give away any Navi or Avatar related costumes, but now they're coming back in vogue with the movie coming out. But number 10 for Amazon's hot sellers in Halloween costumes is a tutu skirt. So, you got to
Ah,
get your tutu skirt, got to get your tutu ready to go right there for you. That's at number 10. Number 9 is a pajama costume style, a onesie that looks very much like a Lilo and Stitch as far as it's concerned, but it's not Disney branded, so it's not actually saying it is, but it looks kind of like it. The number 8 is a Halloween mask LED light up mask. It's a something that's very interesting to see. I think it's something that a lot of people are going to be wearing. Hopefully, not to go ahead and do anything nefarious, but they're probably going to be wearing it because it does cover all the entire face, and as far as the LED light up part of it, people think that's cool. So it's going to be seeing like X's in front of the eyes as far as just big
oh,
X's, and
gotcha.
a big like stitched mouth for a smile. So you get
Yeah.
to see that all lit up in LED. So that's coming out. That's at 8. That's only $13.99. So hey, there you go, right there for you. You want a cheap mask? That's a cheap idea there for you. Number 7 is a Wish Liker Halloween Stitch Kugurumi onesie pajama. Again, this is like a duck pajama style, I guess, anime very much influenced onesie. So that you can take a look at that. There's actually several different styles, and that's very popular right now. In fact, that's at number 7, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you want to go ahead and check out. You like your anime? There you go, right there. So that's very interesting to see. At number 6, we have the traditional, you'll like this, my friend, cowboy hat. The kangaroo cowboy hat with pull-on closure is at number 6. So for $10, there you
Oh, that's
go.
not bad. That's a pretty
That's
good
not
deal.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. Something you don't see much of these days. Yep. And that's at number 6. Number 5 is again a onesie pajama plush outfit. And that's if you want to check the selection out there for this one, this has got everything from a penguin to a cat to a cow to a yellow chicken to a giraffe to a and I don't see that's the thing. They relate all these different styles under this one category. Whereas, the hat, you're just buying the hat. So I don't know if that's actually fair that you should count that as number 5, but hey, whatever. They've got several different styles available. That is the new cosplay unisex animal onesie adult plush one piece pajamas cosplay costume. That's a number 5. Number 4, this is more your style, my friend. The adult original inflatable dinosaur costume in the T Rex. So you too can become a T Rex. That is the fourth popular costume on Amazon, and that's actually at a whopping 30% off at $63 because they want to sell as much as they can before Halloween hits. At number 3 is a Just Love adult onesie costume, and that's in 3 different styles in skeleton, pumpkin, and also another skeleton. So that's right there for you at number what did I mention? That's number 3. Number 3 right there for you. Number 2 is something pretty basic. It's a men and kids tunic hooded robe. So you too can go ahead and be like some of the demonic, I guess, just priests or cloaks or whatever you want to do as far as be spooky. Spooky is just a pretty basic 1898 outfit for just a cloak. So that's at number 2. Pretty much a safe and I guess cheap alternative. So under $20, that's pretty good. Just get yourself a robe and there you go. Don't have to put much thought into it. And number 1, my friend, is again a onesie, but it's a plush adult onesie cosplay suit for adults, women and men. So there you go. You get to be again a elephant, a walrus, a my gosh, a blue shark, a cow, a giraffe, a red panda, monkey, a toad, a lemur, a kangaroo, gray shark. My gosh, just a whole bunch of different things. Again, the onesie pajamas seem to be the hot seller because we saw 5 of the top 10 on Amazon. Go ahead and well, be the top ones on Amazon. So, any last thoughts on that before we head on out?
You'd expect to see like some more pop culture-y things there, like Stranger Things. The kids still love to dress up as Stranger Things,
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters, Marvel heroes. But yeah, these are just very generic costumes. I wonder if people are like mix and matching though, like they're kind of creating their own look.
Maybe, but I also think that cost is a factor because Marvel and DC, all those. I went to the store the other day, and the Marvel prices still, just because it has the Marvel name on it, are really expensive. And it's the same thing for DC; they tack on an extra price just for the licensing. So I think people in these days, with everything with the costs involved, can get something like for 40, 20, or even less, as far as a decent costume to wear that'll go ahead and be acceptable for what they see.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
What are your thoughts out there on the top 10 selling costumes on Amazon? Please let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Cannot thank you enough, as always, for being part of this scary Halloween episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. Any last thoughts on what you're watching for Halloween before we head on out?
Have not really watched a lot. Yeah, not yeah, the TV's been kind of off this week, so not not too much, I guess.
Well, you talked to me about what I'm going to be watching. What are you going to be watching this Halloween?
Um, that's a tough question. I always enjoy watching What do I don't know. I don't know. I'm
I
not.
may actually go you down your road and go into an alien
That
movie.
okay, so I was thinking maybe Alien. I really enjoy watching Signs, but I know it's not really like a horror movie per se.
Mhm.
There hasn't been a lot of good like haunted house flicks coming out lately. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Well, here's hoping your Halloween is safe and fun for you and the kids, Josh, and everyone else out there as well. Hoping you will have a terrific and hauntingly fun Halloween. Be safe and be happy this Halloween from all of us at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise, or excuse me, a hauntingly beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.